Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about multiple personality. Is it called syndrome? Or this very fascinating and frightening reality? I guess it goes back to the famous movie called Sybil. I think that was in the 70s. And you don't hear as much about it now, but we do still have these people claim to have these multiple personalities, which apparently are very real. But multiple personalities trigger some very fascinating extreme abilities. Uh, Mental states have triggered this. Apparently, telekinesis, moving objects, particularly things falling off of shelves, getting thrown around, has oftentimes been connected to high states of emotional arguments, violent arguments, particularly in family units and so forth. Things tend to. This has been documented by parapsychologists from UCLA and other places when these were more active. To diverse for 1 minute, this is our creating the positive manifesting environment. This is a tube 7.8 hertz amplifier that shoots in your environment the very important 7.88 hertz fields that all living matter, including manifesting energies, manifest and live in. So these are very nice, and having a tube amp other than a solid state unit produces very pure and very powerful energies. And this is the whole unit. This has our new special disc feature, which will be coming out with soon. These are something I have throughout my home, and something that everyone should really have if you're trying to manifest, because you have to create a vortex to draw in manifesting energies. And that's what these things create. So they create a positive field so things can manifest. And if you're trying to manifest in a bad energy field, you're not going to do very well. Now, getting back to multiple personalities, what's very interesting is that multiple personalities achieve instant states of high empowerment when they switch between their personalities. Now, what people think by personalities is you're going from one person to another. And this is just a personality. So this could really come from yourself, from watching too many cartoons, or whatever else is out there that you then take on that personality. Well, this is not entirely the case. What's very interesting is the fact that these people have radical, measurable physical changes. Well, that's interesting. Physical changes. Now, we're not talking about simple little things. There has been actually research done with multiple personalities that they actually change their physical eyesight. Now, eyesight may be something that you can change easier than other things, but there's also been eye color, where they've actually changed eye colors as well. But let's talk about these ophthalmological. What is that? So the actual sight changing. So people will go from one personality to another, and their actual vision, the physical structure of their eye, changes. People go from, can create stigmatism. They can be short-sighted, long-sighted, whatever it is, from one personality to another. The colors of eyes have changed as well. Well, this is pretty stunning. And yet again here, people can speak languages they know nothing about. Where does all this come from? And why is this so important? Because of the fact that these people are going to instant states of what would be considered extreme abilities. Now, if you can change your physical reality like that, at an instant, and as they go through their different personalities, and they did this in a particular study. Now, we're assuming these studies are good, and let's remember, all life is an assumption. Well, did this guy do it right? Did he want to be a hero? Did he want to get his name in a book? Well, we just don't know. Do people extrapolate onto what are basic facts to make them more sensational? I'm afraid yes. Everybody wants to be a hero in their own field. They want to be part of that particular reality. So we have to be careful. Scientists are notorious for this. They want their name on something, man. It's kind of like Hollywood Walk of Fame. They want their star. So, and of course, scientists, like everybody else, are one of the few ones, like to name stuff after them. The Hubble telescope. Did he invent the telescope? I don't think so. So the whole idea is all this stuff and getting into these egotistical realities when really there's a huge foundation of people that creates everything is pretty egotistical. And incorrectly giving credit to people who had a minor effect. They did good work, but isn't there a lot of people that did good work? But we need to understand that. So we don't know how good any facts are. We get a lot of nutritional facts and so forth. And, a lot of things are based on one or two studies. And the studies are, to a certain extent, inconclusive. So how many research have been done on certain things as far as we go to things like cinnamon, reducing blood sugar and everything else? Well, how many studies have been done on that? Well, when you get down to it, very few studies. Sometimes it's only one study, usually financed by the Cinnamon Board, who got scientists to research it so they could get more of a call for their product. Which, interesting enough, now they're growing cinnamon everywhere, even in Vietnam. So the whole idea is we have all these things that we have to be careful of the information. But there's been a lot done on multiple personalities, and it certainly is a fascinating area to look at and get information from. So here they are, because we're trying to figure out the power of the mind. Now, there are certain aspects of the actual, quote, brain mind, and these are things within the human energy system, but it's very, very complicated. It's not a physical reality that we're talking about alone. So the physical structure of the particular brain, because there's the brain, the physical things that keep your heart beating and our general functions. Then, of course, there's the mind that does a lot of tasks and interprets information to do common tasks. Then there's the consciousness, which is really what does everything important for you in life. Your perceptions, what you manifest, everything comes from your consciousness, which is why radionic type machines are consciousness machines, and you're using a particular unique type of energy. These are not Hertzian fields entirely. Hertzian fields, which keep your brain and mind functioning at this lower level. So it's kindergarten abilities that are generally connected to frequencies. But frequencies I'll get into in another lecture of talking about, well, where do frequencies come from? Well, they come from the actual creative energies of the universe, informational energetic fields that then create frequencies, etc., and create everything else. And, of course, that's in my subtle energy physics course, soon to be coming out. But the whole idea is that you have to understand that. If you're going to make technologies, if you're going to access powerful energies, well, you got to, what are they? So, if you if you want to pick up water and you bring basically a sieve with you or some sort of filter, well, the water is going to pour right through there. So, you're starting off at the wrong place, and I can't get enough water. Well, you're using what is basically a basket with holes in it. And then you're wondering why, because you don't understand what water is. So if you understand that you should have something that holds water, well, then you've got a tool. So I hope everyone gets that. So that's why it's so important to understand these things, particularly as a person who manufactures tools and who's trying to seek the highest possible level we can, which is extreme abilities. Because here are people that we can't say in any way whatsoever or connected to any of the things in our life if you've got someone with severe mental illness. Now, so it has nothing to do with their capacities in life, that they're able to do this. So they have physical problems. So we also know that people who have high levels of psychic power have went through different stages of traumas, a lot of them, I should say, different stages of trauma. These can be from being highly abused to many people. Peter Hurkos hit his head. who else? So several people hit their heads and so forth. Unfortunately, this we think may have created a physical damage to the quote brain, and as such triggered something. But it may not be physical in nature. It may have broken an energetic informational field that now is extending from the area that it was supposed to be into other areas. This is what's fascinating and difficult to understand and go into. But the bottom line, if a multiple personality person can actually change from one personality to another, their physical reality, changing their sight, and they went in and got ophthalmologists, there we go, to look at their eyes, and they had physical changes, radical changes. Even going into stigmatisms, what stigmatisms are the shape of the eye. If you have astigmatism, your eye is not round enough, so you have it, and I have astigmatism, and so the whole idea is this is a problem. But they're actually, so that's a physical change. You may say that being farsighted or nearsighted is not that much of a physical change, even though it is. But the whole idea is that their eyesight has completely changed. Now, when it comes to stigmatism, it's a little better. When it comes to actual near and farsighted, well, you could say that that is something that could be created easier. But the fact that it's still done is that. The fact that eye colors can change as well is quite mind blowing. The whole idea is, how can we change this? What does this tell us? Now, the point is, people have been visualizing and picturing for thousands of years, and it's shown to be very effective in many, many areas. William Bengston, the famous researcher in, quote, energy or hands-on healing, as he has stated, who wrote the book, The Energy Cure, has been able to use visualization and casual connection to people to cure them from cancer and cure mice and everything else, highly documented. Yet there's lots of his research that are still in question as well. So, but it's very interesting that he's got these things documented, particularly with mice and everything else, which is something that is quite fascinating. And this is strictly done by the mind, projecting information at a particular target. There's nothing else used. And of course, we always want to use tools to amplify the process and make it work better, faster, and of course, for everybody. That's the big goal with any kind of tool. Is if you use a tool, you are then in that area to amplify it, get better results without having to spend an entire life trying to get everything going properly. Or working hours and hours. The whole idea is that we don't have time to become monks. We have to become techno mages so that we can use the technology like we do everything else. We always use tools. You could get a rock and hammer a nail in. Is that effective? Well, you want to use a hammer to do it faster and better and easier. So that's the way of life. And when it comes to these areas, having tools is essential, because you just can't manifest these things on your own. So as we get back into these areas, it just shows what can happen. Now, the question here is what? The first thing people do is they like to say the mind can do anything, or it would be the mind-brain structure, meaning that reality that you're talking about, the physical mind that could have endless capacities. But I'm not sure the physical mind does anything other than what it's supposed to do. What I call the brain. So the brain is the physicality. The mind, again, is a mishmash of toxins, fears, conditionings, and it's really a soup of horrible tasting filth that is near impossible to control, because your physicality comes in as well, the chemicals that are going around in you, telling you to do stuff, particularly sexual urges and other things. Well, these are irrefutable, and there's not something you can just, I decided not to be sexual. Well, this doesn't happen, particularly to males, because of the huge amount of chemicals in them. It's a phenomena that this seems to have such a low impact or is channeled differently in females, but not gay females, because gay females act just like males. They have super high sex drives and is irrefutably and can't be transmuted into other things. So, but that's another subject we'll get into at a different position. So, this changing within your body and everything else that goes on is quite fascinating. Now, where does it come from? Well, again, people are going to say, well, your mind can do everything. Well, I don't see the mind doing much of anything, and I'm not sure it's the mind who's producing this or the brain that is doing this. What is it doing is manifesting everything as your consciousness. Now, your consciousness is not based in your biosystem alone. So it gets into the holographic universe concept, which just makes all that sense to me, because I can't believe, considering how ineffective, crazy, and everything else the human mind-brain combination is. And while there are people that can do amazing stuff, is it coming from a physical structure? And I say no. Is it coming from the energetic, common, toxic scum, otherwise known as your mind? Well, I don't believe that either. So, but you can have certain abilities, certain, quote, powers. Generally, that term is kind of comic bookish, but it's more of abilities. And you don't have to have any consciousness. You don't have to believe in anything particular. People who tend to get into these things oftentimes revert back to religion. But, there's very few religious people that have done anything. Certainly, religion has been a big failure in our world in general. Certainly has achieved nothing. We've had thousands of years of religions that have done absolutely nothing. If anything, it made people worse. So as we get involved in that, we have to be very understanding of what that is. Who are these people that can do things? Certainly there are people that have basic good abilities, whether that may be psychic or healing, etc. And when they start to use these abilities, they get stronger and stronger. Oh, called practice. Now, can the average person do this? Hell no. This is the other fallacy they want to teach you. Yes, the average person can produce a certain amount of energy in these areas, but they don't have the capacities, the understanding, or the really desire to work on this and train it. That's like saying everybody can be a professional golfer, everybody can be a professional bodybuilder. Well, no, this is not true. But can you golf well? Yeah, you can probably golf damn well if you practice all the time, take lessons. Same thing with bodybuilding. Everybody can build their bodies, but there is a genetic and a physical structure. Do you have the muscle structure to do it? There's actual physicalities there, and it also goes down to your dedication of doing anything as well. So it's a complicated process that goes way beyond the fact that anybody can do it. Yes, anybody can do anything to a competency level that is probably good. So there's different levels. Anybody can become an expert in something and not a master, meaning you're doing technical stuff to achieve a goal. And here again, certain people are going to be better at it than others, and this will be a combination of mental and physical abilities. Obviously, if you're 7 feet, you have an edge if you want to play basketball, but that's not all of it. A lot of big players aren't really all that good. They tend to be better because of their size. So these are all the type of things that we see out there and we have to understand. So what are these things and why are some people excelling in others? And as the research becomes more and more done here and more understanding, we have to understand that everything comes from informational energetic fields, the foundations of the universe. You have to grab these energies and you have to bring them to you. These do not come from you. You are a conduit. Without you being the conduit, you can't use these energies. So remember, it's a conduit. It's not being manufactured in that person's brain. So if someone's really good at healing or everything else, it means they're using the holographic universe to pull in certain energies to use in that area, which means that this is a skill they have and able to do. And maybe there's something within the physical capacity of them, their shape of the brain itself, the way your mind works, makes it able for you to connect to these energies at a stronger level. But what is mind-blowing here is the fact that multiple personalities are so psyched into drawing these energies in and using the energies within their own biophysical structure, and that includes the physical brain and the mind, as well as connecting to the outside energies, that they're able to physically change their body. Wow. And of course, this is what everybody wants to do to heal themselves. to do anything else, to be successful. And why are people successful and everything else? I've been watching successful people, particularly the really successful people out there. And they're all idiots. I mean, Elon Musk is a complete idiot. He's really done nothing at all. But of course, there's politics involved in there. This guy is a boob. He knows nothing. He's lost billions of dollars, but you can lose billions of dollars. People like Amazon. Now, certainly he's an educated man per the system. Certainly I wouldn't consider him overly intelligent, but he was able to lose billions of dollars because he got his company going, not to mention a couple of $1 million of his own. So it wasn't like Amazon was a genius thing. It's just a giant catalog. And came along at the right time. And of course, he was able to raise billions of dollars so that he could keep his organization going until it actually became a force. There's nothing genius about that. Amazon is nothing more than a computer mail order catalog. There's no difference from it whatsoever. And it's not new. Sears and Roebuck, those people out there that are not over 50, had giant catalogs, and you could go to a catalog store and look through 10, 15 catalog with hundreds of thousands of products in it and come back in a few days or a week and pick up your product there. Just what they call antique Amazon. Nothing new there. These companies couldn't make the transition, unfortunately, and this is where they had problems. So, of course, you have old thinkers who started those things, old men who don't get it, and someone else came along and did it, and basically Bezos' success is based on books. The rest of it is very interesting, and those are stories. But the point is that is there any genius there? Are they smart? As I said, Elon Blofeld Musk is an idiot. This guy is a stooge and has failed at everything. Tesla was a company he bought. Other people invented it, got it going, and then he said, I did it all, yeah, me. So the whole idea, this is a guy who went to school in a convertible Rolls Royce in South Africa. So don't think this is an average guy. He comes from a very wealthy family and everything that goes on there. So his connections, which were made through finance and other things, is another long, interesting story. But he hasn't done anything right. Electric cars are basically crap. There was a waiting line of 12 hours to charge your car in Barstow, California over weekends, which is common, which is the stop before you go to Vegas from Southern California. So that's fine. Wait 12 hours to charge your car and then spend another 40 minutes charging your car. So it's a bogus technology. Batteries are bogus and everything that goes with it. So as we move into those things, we do have to understand all of these things. So these aren't smart people. They stand on soapboxes and talk a lot of nonsense and produce very little. And everybody goes, wow, he's such a genius. He make a battery car like they made 150 years ago. Yeah, but it's got a computer in it this time. So the whole idea is that this is the kind of things that goes on. So, and the average idiot public glums on to these frauds because who else do they have to glum onto? Other stooges. So the whole idea is that we go on to the reality of what's going on here, of the actual functioning of the brain. Now, we have figured all this stuff out. Well, what we're doing right now is we're figuring on ways of how we're developing this into tools and other things. But this just shows you how fascinating the human consciousness is. Now, in almost every belief system, as we go back, and we can note a lot of people like Tibetan stuffy, the Dalai Lama and everything with them. Well, in their medicine, 50% of it is dealing with the physical body and the use of herbs and other things. The other 50%, which, let's get real here, 50% deals with the spirits that are making you sick. And I think this is very interesting, and I tend to believe all this. And something that's highly overlooked is we just try and get too much into the mechanics of things, the physicality of things. What things really are is this big mix of things. And the one thing nice about radionic tech is, since I came from this kind of magical background, I understand spirits and those energies at a high level, which is the reason why my technologies work so well. So the whole idea is that all of this is a spiritual reality. There are other energies. Now, whether these energies are fields you draw into you or spirits that come at you, we don't know. So were these multiple personality people, were they causing physical reactions through their connections to informational energetic fields that control these things? Or was this something that spirits came in, actual spirits who had an actual physical body at one time, or in some way changed the eyesight of these people? Well, I believe that it's both, to be honest with you, but I think we're underestimating the kind of energies and spirits are a type of matter creating entity, so to speak. So it gets into a very long conversation, which I'm not going to get into right here and now, but using spirits and other things tends to help you manifest things at a higher level. So when you get too technical and you get too much into the engineering of things, the radionic numbers and other things, unless they're connecting into spiritual realities as well, you don't get the same kind of results. So it has to be a proper and carefully done mixture that basically only I understand. So you can't, if you just do spirit thing, you're limiting yourself. You want to combine everything, and you want to use, of course, the understanding and the drawing and the connection of numbers and radionics. But, everything you do is this combination of physical, spiritual reality. And spiritual realities cover spirits and the things that are kind of unknown. Other things, you get into the fact of, well, this is a particular vibration, which is very recordable, and what goes with all of that stuff as well. So these are the type of things that we all have to keep in consideration when doing it. But, of course, this is very technical, and I'm doing this, obviously, for you. But it just shows the power. However this process connects ultimately, and we're trying to put this all together, and pretty much I know what to do. It does take development. And it's not research here. I'm not starting from the ground up, sitting on a bench in the middle of nowhere. Where do we start from here? Well, no, I've got 50 years of researching all of this in a very unique fashion because, as I said, I've come from what would be considered the more magical traditions, and I've studied all of them, then moving into what's considered a techno-mage. So using magical traditions combined with modern tools, which basically are still very mystical, because we don't understand anything. We don't even know what electricity is. We use it all the time, Doc. Yeah, we do. We plug stuff in the wall, but we don't really know how that works. And, of course, it's a very primitive energy. We're still in kindergarten using energies that, yes, are effective, but are difficult to generate. And generally, we figured out how to generate electricity by just burning and polluting the planet. Not too bright. So, not very bright at all. So the whole idea is to do something so primitive that is so destructive, you might as well not do it at all. So it just doesn't make any sense. We need gadgets and toasters. Yeah, we do, dumb guy. So the whole idea is that these are the things that go on out there that we have to be very cognizant of. But to ignore this fact of what is these other energies there? Now, we like to use the term spiritual, but this in terms of entities, spirits, etc. And of course, what are these things ultimately? How can they be controlled, etc.? And of course, this is where your ancient forms of magic go back to. That's what they are controlling. Now, are these just informational energetic fields that they've labeled and given sigils to? Well, yes, they are to a large extent. And yes, they're not, because they do tend to be also have their own level of intelligence, which and unpredictability. You just can't tell a spirit to do something, and it doesn't. Why would they? So these are all the things. And if you're tuning into just pure energies, well, this has a capacity as well. So these are all the things that we're looking into. But the whole idea is we've got some awesome physical changes within the body. Now, if you can do this unfortunately, like everything in this very mystical and unperfected plane, and when you perfect this plane on any level whatsoever, you cease to be here. That's what Ascension is all about. Why be here if you can manifest everything you want? So this is why manifesting is so difficult and also so profound, is the fact that everybody wants magic lamp technology. Rub the lamp and something pops. Heal yourself, have buckets of money. But as I've talked about many times, if that was the reality, And if anybody has that, they would cease to exist here. Why would you exist here anyway? If you can have everything, then it means nothing. Simple as that. And then if it means nothing, then you have conquered this world. So it doesn't work like that. And there's never going to be a magic lamp technology ever available to the public. And if someone discovers that, why would you stay here? And you certainly are not going to offer it. So why would you sell that to the crud that's out there? We've got to remember this world is 99.9% satanic evil. And why would we want to empower people to do what? What, make another religion? Get more whores and booze? Do all the things that good old humans do? Maybe they'll figure out how to just make a machine that just creates garbage and toxic energy to kill the earth faster. Yeah. Why would we want to do that? And of course, we know that all technologies end up, no matter what they are, end up for military purposes and are generally used on the people that have invented it as well. So all military weapons have been used on the people that they invented them, as well as their so-called enemies. This is the way of the world. So we have to understand all this and understand the reality that goes with it. So that technology never exists because that's you're here to basically ascend and go to higher levels, and that requires learning how to manifest. To learn how to manifest, you have to reach high levels of spiritual understanding, and this isn't some of the primitive level. Me want money, me want girls, me want. This is the kind of stuff that of course, Satanists are all into because it's such a primitive. All that stuff ultimately is a very empty bottle of nothingness. Like most bottles, once you've enjoyed the content, basically they're nothing more than a whistle. You just blow into the empty bottle, and that's all that's left. And that's what life is about, is once you've reached these plateaus of primitive manifesting. Ultimate manifesting is taking care of the life force to the point where you then can turn your entire reality into energy and get the hell out of here. Time to get out of Dodge. Dodge stinks. So the whole idea is that we need to move on with all that. So it's very, very important to do that. But what's interesting is there's been enough of this multiple personality documentation of physical changes on all sorts of levels to make it very, very fascinating. Now, what exactly is happening? What areas of the brain are used? Why is this happening? But it has been documented that physical changes take place. Now, if that can be channeled into particularly healing, where you can physically change a sick organ, physically change and bring all your organs up to working perfectly. And we all have these organ problems living in very toxic environments. Everybody's kidneys and livers and pancreas is all messed up. Most of the population will be diabetic or pre-diabetic within 10 years. This is not a joke, people. So this is a very serious problem. Everybody's got these problems from eating bad diets and in general of living in bad environments. So what do we do about all this stuff? Well, if we could do that, then we could restore our body. But again, we're getting into a point that if everybody can virtually make themselves immortal or live to be much longer by using their mind, well, that changes the game to a bit. But I don't think anybody can achieve anything of serious note unless they live 150 years. I mean, when people are reaching their prime, they tend to die in their 60s and 70s. This is a time when you really kind of get it. And now you need another 50 years of prime operating to really make any major changes. And of course, that's when everybody retires and dies. So that's why very little happens in this reality. And it's all tied to our lifespan to a large degree, because nobody's going to do the same work. When I pass, nobody's going to get what I get, period. Doesn't matter if they listen to all my lectures, read all my books. You're not going to get it to the level that I get it, because I'm a very evolved person. And while there are certainly other good evolved people out there, they're certainly not evolved to the point. I don't know how many people have reached the state of gnosis, but I think you could probably count that on one hand. So they just don't do it. People don't get it, and they never will. So when a certain, quote, genius in a particular area, and we could go to people like Nikola Tesla, once people like this pass, there's a bunch of people going over your records and producing inferior thought forms in general. So this is the way things go. So this is a real problem. So, but if everybody lived to that, I think they'd take better care of the earth. They'd take care of the people. They would be understanding that, you're not going to die in 20 or 30 years. You've got another 100 to go. So the whole idea is that people, I think, would be much better. Why wouldn't you? So the human lifespan is a serious problem on every single level. But let's also get back to the fact of what are the processes going on there? How much of this is internally created? How much of it is the brain? How much is it the mind? Again, the mind is your sewer, makes you do weird stuff. Your violence, your sex. The mind is just trash. It was never meant to do anything but be a guidance, a computer program to have you do life. But what happened is it became infected with the virus of humanality because you let everything go through your mind instead of going through your consciousness. So everything you do is toxic and messed up. But how much of it is connected to the mind, and then how much is connected to the consciousness, your higher self that makes everything happen, and to the basically conduit that you are? And what are you drawing in through that conduit? Very, very interesting. And this is the ultimate secret of life. And we are getting very close to figuring a lot of this out. But we certainly know that you yourself, when it comes to most energies that are not of a physical nature, meaning your physical body health, but we're even thinking that doesn't have that much to do with you. But when it comes to things like success, drawing, luck, and other things, well, this is coming from without you, unless you're a lucky person who is connected. So you have to connect to those through your conduit. You have to connect to those, what I call streams of empowerment for money, success, and of course, health connects in there as well. So you have to connect to these. Well, how do you do that? And when you do it, how strong is it and what kind of effects does that make in your life? And, there's always variations. That's one of the problems. Now, we have foundations of products that help you connect on all sorts of levels, alchemical formulas that vibrate special things to help you. And, people get different results from it because they're able to access that energy at different levels. So what you're doing is connecting to, so when you use an alchemical oil, that oil connects you to that stream of empowerment for whatever that is: protection, money, success, healing. That's how it works. And it works pretty good. It is not optimal. So, can we get it to the next level? And that's exactly what I'm working on. I know we can get it to the next level, and this is in development now. As I said, it's not in research. Research is we don't know. Development is we know. We're just trying to get it to a point where it works really well for everybody through using certain tools and other things. So we're in the development stages of everything, and this has worked extremely well. And of course, it's worked through my entire life all the time without any problems to speak of that are not coming from the outside, so to speak. But that's another story. But the whole idea is that is very fascinating when we look at all this to understand the entire process. If this connection, whatever it is, whether it's spiritual, physical, and I believe it's a combination of everything, has such profound effects, well, we got to figure out how to use this to make profound effects, if nothing else, to cure yourself. What if you wanted to make yourself a genius, higher wisdom? Well, why not change or bring the energy into you so you have that concept of it? Maybe to figure out how to use numbers if that's something you want to do, or learn anything. Why can't we trigger that? If you can make these physical changes within your body, that means you can make physical changes on every single level, as well as consciousness changes. Fascinating people, interesting, something to think about, and just another documented area of science that is totally unexplainable by particularly scientists who really haven't got a clue of what they're doing. Until next time.